Hello, everybody. So today's live is going to be called cycle syncing. So, how to live, eat, and train in alignment with your menstrual cycle. So, today's live is for the ladies, but I hope some guys join us or watch the replay because it'll definitely help you in understanding the woman in your life a lot more and better. Yay, Melody is here. Let me just write the name of the live cycle syncing post. Then how do I pin this? Pin comment. Awesome. All right, view request. You're telling your followers that you started. Joined. Awesome. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for having me
Yeah.
on.
I'm really excited about today. Like when I saw your profile, I was like, oh my god, she's amazing. Yeah, I was like, because the way I teach like cycle syncing is a lot more with the energetics, and just like my approach is very different than yours. And then when I saw how like much you touch on like the biology and the hormones and like really the science part of it, I was like, oh my god, I'm excited to learn from her.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. I'm so excited to learn from you too about what you mean by energetics, because there's so many different ways to go about it. And specifically, you talking about embodiment and then bringing energetics into the menstrual cycle too. I think that is so cool. So I'm so excited to ask you questions.
Yay! All right, so let's start the live by introducing ourselves since some people from your side might not know me and some people from my side. So yeah, give us a little intro about who you are.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
Okay, perfect. So yes, my name is Melody. I've been a fitness coach for 8 years now.
Wow.
And I got into it because I was a really competitive gymnast my whole entire life growing up. And then, I got hurt in high school and I had to quit gymnastics. And so I went into college and went into my first physiology course and fell in love with it. And so from there, I studied exercise science in undergrad, and then I got a full ride to grad school for being an absolute nerd in physiology and doing a bunch of research. So I worked on NIH-funded research studies on how exercise could prevent and reverse chronic conditions and chronic disease. So my background is mainly science, and throughout learning about physiology, I was able to heal my back. I was able to heal a lot of problems that I've had in my body. And then I actually started personal training as a side gig because I thought I was going to be a professor.
Wow.
And but after graduating with my master's degree, I was just like, I don't. I had a free ride for my PhD, and I just didn't take it. I was like, I think I want to go a different way, and because the politics in academia are kind of like they're there. And so, the pandemic hit and I launched my online coaching platform, and it's kind of evolved dramatically throughout the years from kind of wanting to be everybody's coach to now really finding my niche. And it's like your story becomes your sale.
Yeah.
So this past year, I've had some hormonal issues that I've really had to take into consideration with fitness and nutrition. So I dove into the research, I dove into hormones, I dove into what it means to train like a woman. And so now that's what I teach.
I love that. That is amazing. I really love your story, and it's amazing how much you actually like invested in the science background. That's something that I feel like I always want more of because there's just so much science. And just like, when did you realize that like hormones? Like, what was the point for you when you're like, wait, women train very differently than men? Like, what was that point for you when you realized that?
Yeah. My sister has been talking about this for the last 10 years, and I never really understood, why. So I always worked out very, very hard, 5, 6, 7 days a week, no breaks for, years and years and years. And then it wasn't until like about 3 years ago where I had to slow down for some reason. And I didn't have the energy and I didn't have like that drive. And it's almost like I was living in my masculine for so long through just like working really hard through college and then working really hard through grad school. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, do 2 jobs, and take graduate courses. It was like, I don't know how I did it, you know? And so
Yeah.
my sister's been talking about hormones, and then my mom started talking about hormones, and they both were dealing with thyroid health issues. And then I started to get some of the same symptoms, the lack of energy and the like ridiculously sore muscles, the like major swings in energy where like one day I would be super, super energetic and I would have, I would go to the gym and I would crush it. And then the next day I would be absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
And so, and then my hunger and fullness got all out of whack. So I was like, okay, something has to change here. I started looking into it, and my friend actually recommended cycle syncing and understanding way more about what's going on in your body.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the segue was this past year, and it was because I was pushing way too hard training for a half marathon, and something had to change.
Wow, that is amazing. And do you really feel like after you've got cycle syncing, like you actually were able to reach better gains, better performance, and all of that?
So I think the expectation issue is that it's not better and it's not more effective for gaining muscle. It's not better and it's not more effective for developing your fitness. What it does is it's better and more effective for making sure that your expectations that you put on your body are healthy and they're aligned with what your hormones are actually providing for you. So, the masculine way is the most effective way to build muscle. Like training every body part at least twice a week, eating that protein that you need to eat, making sure your calories are up. But that requires so much consistent effort in one direction, and we are cyclical beings. You know what I mean? So cycle syncing has helped me learn how to rest, get out of my masculine, just pushing hard all the time in business, in fitness, in whatever. And it's helped me really develop an intuition with my body. And so, I literally, Malak, I feel like I can, sense things better now because I actually listen to myself. I know when to rest. I know what to eat. My cravings aren't just sugar or salt. They're for actual specific foods, and it's probably because that's, the vitamins and minerals that my body wants in that day.
Yeah.
So it helps build trust within yourself, and then that expectation, when you, maybe in your follicular phase, you're like, there's no way that I can't work out 5 days a week for the rest of my life. But then you hit your luteal, and it's like, oh my God, I can't put that expectation on me. But I have girls do that, and they come to me, they're not exercising at all. They're like, I'm going to train 5 days a week. I'm like, okay, we're going to start slow here. But it's like, I used to have girls check in on that late luteal day and be like, oh, I fell off. I overate. I guess I'll hop on next week. And now with the cycle syncing, the way you rest in that late luteal, their check-in forms are, I feel so much more rested. My muscles are recovered. I ate more. I made banana bread. It was so good. I can't wait to PR next week. It's a complete shift in expectations of yourself, which helps you manage your stress a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I think you just really said the key word is when you have the expectations are different, I feel like you end up actually getting better results because you start working with your body, not against it. And then you're more forgiving. So even as just a mental thing, it's if you fall on your luteal phase and instead of just getting disappointed and discouraged, I'm like, oh, I can't succeed. I keep getting back into the cycle. And then that kind of sets you up more for failure than success. Versus when you're understanding what's going on and what's happening, you're working more with an alignment and in harmony, literally syncing it. And that sets you up for better results. And honestly, whether we acknowledge it or not, weightlifting is a very masculine sport. It just is. And that doesn't mean that women shouldn't lift. I just think that understanding that I actually encourage the very femme girls are the ones who I want them to lift the most because it gives them structure in their body. It gives them that fire, and it gives them structure in their life too.
Yes.
I saw the difference. I was very girly, and once I started weightlifting, that's when I started feeling more powerful. I can stand up for myself, felt my own strength. And so it is not a masculine sport. When I train my male clients, they're reaching what I'm lifting in like a month, and I've been working on like 3 years. Not jealous, no comparison, but like it's just different. We're just built different, and it's fine. I really accept that, and then just knowing that there's still space for me at the gym. There's still,
Absolutely.
I can still make this masculine sport work for me versus then just completely shying away from it.
And it has to work for you too. You know, it's like one of the major, like if you want a healthy lifespan, right? Like a health span, like you don't want a long life and have horrible health at the end, right? You want that your life to be as healthy as long as possible. And having more muscle mass on you is one of the major factors in order to have a healthy lifespan. And one of the major risk factors for chronic conditions or if you get hospitalized is low muscle mass. And so it's a metabolically active tissue. It's one of the most important tissues you could develop in your body for so many different reasons. And so women have to train and to be able to harness that masculine energy as well. It gives you power just in yourself as well, because it's all about that yin and yang balance. And so I just wanted to go back a little bit to, you know, not being the most effective. The most effective thing is what you're going to be consistent with. And so a lot of the women that I've trained, you know, they would fall off once a month. And then they would get hard on themselves, and you know that's not going to be the most effective thing if you're like afraid to start back up because you just don't have that self-integrity almost, that telling yourself you're going to do something and then following through with it. That's what I call like your self-integrity. And so cycle syncing is the most effective for the women who have never been able to stick to something, or the women who are just feeling burnt out, they're feeling tired, they're feeling like, no, I don't want to train 5 times a week. That sounds horrible, right? They don't have the energy for it. And this starts to change. Like when you hit like 27, 28, your body shifts and there's a change in your metabolism, there's a change in your energy. And I feel like all of the pushing that you've done in your early 20s and all of the bad health habits, the drinking, the smoking, the whatever you did when you were kind of young and dumb, they catch up to you.
Oh yeah, for sure they do, 100%. I can tell when I start start training a client that's like new to the gym, I can tell their habits like right away. Like, oh, you have done a great deal on your body. You need a reset button for sure. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. The effectiveness is also very mental. The way I teach it, when it's not really not just about fitness, where I feel like it's effective in your productivity level overall, is that I tell them, imagine if you actually gave yourself those 3 days off when you're like on your period, you're harnessing that energy, you're cultivating it, and you're working in more like alignment. So the way I do it is like your menstrual week, you get the ideas, you get the, you know, the meditation, you stay in stillness, you're completely in your yin, and then the week after you start like the research, the planning, the structure, your yin and yang are balanced, your hormones are balanced, your ovulation, you're queen of the world, girl. That's when you go on dates, go on lives, take action. And it's much more effective when I'm taking action only in these days, when I've already kind of like been very connected to my intuition, to what I want to receive, to what everything, and then had the time to plan it, and then like going hard with the ovulation phase where I'm completely in my masculine, where I'm hitting my PRs, and then the luteal phase as well, as like I don't usually recommend for them to start something new because your inner critic is really loud, your energy's starting to fall down. So it's like just edit whatever you started. So it's like a journey, a creative journey. Yeah. And I personally say, like, take this as a guideline, but at the end of the day, listen to your body. There's some times where I'm feeling energetic in one season than the other. And then also sometimes I hit my PRs and my luteal, especially the beginning, because I'm feeling all this like intensity of emotions. Yeah, and that's like my drive. So so in respect to like talking about effectiveness, I think once I started syncing my whole life in that, like my schedule is much more aligned with my hormones and my body and my cycle. I'm better. I'm setting myself up for success. I would say just basically setting myself up for success, knowing what I'm capable of in this season and what I'm available for versus what I'm not. And then everyone around me in my life starts respecting that as well. Like my partner, my coworkers, like not the right season.
Yes,
I'm not gonna be on my A game. Yeah.
I love that so much, and I try to make sure that there's a few things that should affect your training, and then there's a few things that shouldn't affect your training. Your mood and your motivation should not affect your training. You need to go and do it.
Yeah.
But why is your mood changing? Right? It's like, are you not having, the energy? Are you having plummeted estrogen, and is your progesterone too? Is your body begging for rest because you're low on sleep? Like, those are the types of expectations and delineations that are really hard to figure out if you're not aware of your cycle.
Yeah.
So it's like I do these live webinars and I teach women about the changes of hormones, and they're like, "Oh my god, like that's why I don't feel like doing anything." I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, it's literally physiological, but you just think there's something wrong with you mentally."
Yeah.
Right? It's like, "Oh, I'm not motivated," or like, "Oh, I'm just not in the mood." And if you let that deter you from sticking to your fitness program or your nutrition program, then you're not going to make it. But if you let your fitness and nutrition program sync up to when you can expect to not be motivated and expect to not be in a mood, that redefines consistency for you.
Oh, I love that so much. It's actually a recent discovery in my luteal phase, especially at the end. I'm like, I'm not in the mood to go at all. But then I'm like, okay, but how about a very light workout? Because my mood and my energies already really dropped down. And I found that just a really light workout, just getting in some movement, really just brings like that dopamine effect, like really enhances my mood. And it really aligns with like what you said, don't let your mood affect it, but maybe change the workout that you do instead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the consistency, keep doing, because the discipline needs to be there. Yeah.
Exactly what I do for my girls. It's like, if you're working out 4 times a week, you're always working out 4 times a week. But during follicular, that's like 4 heavy strength days. But during luteal, that is one strength day with low volume, 2 yogas, and a walk.
Try the
But you're still
Pilates class
on
now.
that. You're keeping on that consistent schedule so that you can show up for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So something that I wanted you to also talk about is food. So food is actually something I have not touched yet a lot with my clients in regards to their cycle. So I think when I was like checking out, I'm like, oh, there's so much to learn about food. So yeah, I would like you to talk a little bit about food and how you approach food with your clients and how you sync it with cycle.
Yes. Okay. So I think defining the menstrual cycle is really important first, right? So I want to just go through the two major phases just to keep it really simple. It's the first half of your cycle is the follicular phase. So first half follicular and the latter half luteal. Okay, so during these two phases, there's completely different changes in what's happening with your hormones. So the first phase, follicular, your estrogen is high. Estrogen is your energy hormone, and it really reduces your metabolism. So you're not as hungry. You're really craving like fresh foods, and this is a time where you actually want to increase your estrogen because it's going to give you that energy, and then it's going to stimulate the release of the luteinizing hormone so that you can ovulate in a healthy way. So during that first half follicular, you just came off of bleeding. So we want to replenish iron. So a lot of iron helps, and then vitamin C actually helps with the uptake of iron as well. So this is where your red meats come in and your citrus fruits. Those are going to be highest in iron and vitamin C. And then you also want to just support healthy hormone levels in general and a lot of fiber, because sometimes progesterone in the latter half might make you a little constipated. So you want to make sure you're getting in the fiber during the follicular phase to prepare for that. So that is your cruciferous vegetables. This is the time to eat raw foods because your body temperature is lower, so you don't have to cook things. Your body's not craving that warmness. So this is raw foods, colder foods, a lot of cruciferous vegetables, iron and vitamin C.
Why? Can you repeat why iron again?
Iron because you just came off of bleeding for 3 to 7 days. If you're
Making up for it. Yeah.
you just want to make up for that loss of iron.
Oh wow, I love that. So basically, because there is energy, there is heat. That's why you eat more vegetables and raw food too, because you don't need to generate a lot of that heat.
You don't, yeah. Your metabolism is a lot lower because your progesterone is lower.
Oh, I see.
Progesterone during the later half is when you're a little bit hungrier. So in that first half, you're not as hungry. You could do those raw vegetables, lots of fermented foods, iron to supplement from the iron that you lost when you were bleeding. The second half, your estrogen is now lower, your progesterone is higher, and your body wants you to eat and rest. Okay, so during the second half, your progesterone says, okay, please feed me way more. And because your progesterone's higher, you're running at a hotter body temperature. And you can see this, like if you do natural cycle tracking and you track your basal body temperature, you can see during your follicular phase, it's lower. It's like 90 in the 96s. And then you can see during your luteal phase, it's a lot higher to like the 98s. And so even burning at a hotter temperature is going to increase your metabolism. So there's been studies where women have burned like 50 to 500 more calories a day during their luteal phase.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that.
And so
And
it makes
so
it
it's
more
kind of like an
hungry.
opposite way what people think. So you're encouraging people to actually eat during that time.
Yes, because your metabolism is higher and your progesterone wants you to eat. So during that luteal phase, um, basically, you're not exercising as hard. And so that's really important so that you don't spike even higher hunger. And so if you feel like you just like cannot get enough food during that late luteal phase, right, like the week before your period, maybe you're working a little bit too hard. You're spiking your hunger hormones way too high because your energy intake requirements are already higher. Maybe you're trying to be in a deficit because you think eating a lot of food is not healthy for you. It's going to make you gain weight. It's like throw all those ideas out, and your body's craving hearty carbs. It's craving warm foods because your body's basal body temperature is higher. So this is time for like your pot roast and roasted root vegetables, and again cruciferous vegetables to help with that fiber, because progesterone sometimes can make you a little bit constipated. So you want to just make sure you're getting both of those insoluble and soluble fibers in. And this is time for not to play around in a deficit. Your progesterone doesn't want that, and your metabolism doesn't want that. So this is really important to go up to maintenance calories, or your maintenance might be a little higher because you're burning at a higher temperature. And so don't be afraid to eat during luteal.
Wow, that's amazing. So with that being said, do you ever go through the regular bulk cutting phase with your clients, or you just sync them with their cycle and that naturally kind of happens?
What I do is I go through maintenance phase, and then if they want to lose body fat, I'll go through calorie cycling in a deficit.
Mm.
So I never like to put my women on a bulking phase because it's not intuitive, right? And it just kind of allows them this leeway where it's like eat as much food as possible becomes the mantra. And that is also not listening to your body as well. And it is really freaking hard to lose body fat as a woman. And so I never intentionally have my women gain body fat. But what I do is I have them find a maintenance, and we reverse diet up so that their maintenance calorie intake is no less than 2,000 calories. Like, you will not be in a deficit on my program if your maintenance is less than 2,000 calories. So I make sure that you can eat as much as possible while maintaining your weight. And we strength train heavy to build muscle so that you can improve your metabolism naturally that way. And you can build muscle at maintenance. So
Yeah.
we're not gaining any body fat, because if the most effective way to gain muscle, right, is to eat a little bit above maintenance, but you're going to gain body fat with that too. So I have women eat at maintenance, and we want their weight to stay literally the same. And you see their body weight, their body shape changes dramatically. And so we do
I love that.
progress pictures. Yes, we do progress pictures, and they tone up, their backs tighten up, their glutes lift up, and they're still the same body weight. And then
Yeah.
that is what kind of makes them more comfortable. It's like, oh wow, I can eat quite a bit and still achieve my physique goals.
Yeah, I love that. That's a very interesting approach. So the way I really love how you just kind of broke it down. I do personally take my clients on a bulking because I notice a lot of them actually, even the ones who are trying to lose body fat, are already in a very calorie deficit at a very low calorie
It's
intake.
true.
The majority of people, and so I'm like, where do you go from 1,200 or 1,300 calories to start with? Like, you can't really go much. So changing what they're eating, and I think it was helpful to approach it that way. A lot of the women find a lot of resistance. It's like, I came to you to that, and here you are telling me to eat more.
I know.
and
Yeah.
and the way I try to teach them and encourage them to eat more, but I like maybe your approach is really nice too, just telling them that this is a maintenance. The reason why I also really try to encourage them to eat more is to also get out of that mindset is that I continuously need to eat less, eat less, eat less, and just break free from the scale, from counting calories. And I'm just like, just eat and
Yeah.
eat healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, sister. I hear you. And so we probably do very much similar things. I call mine a reverse diet to make sure their maintenance is like the highest it could possibly go.
Yeah,
Right?
I think
While
that would
losing their
speak to
weight.
them a little better actually, because the moment I tell them bulk, I'm like, what do you mean bulk?
Yeah.
First, I don't want to be bulky. Second, I'm trying to lose my butt. And I was like, oh, it takes a little bit of time for it to think of like, focus on being strong. And it's not just even about eating protein, like eating carbs is just as important to get you the energy, because if you don't have energy, your body's going to start breaking down the protein as well. So like, just eat healthy. So just cleaning up their diet choices and increasing the calorie intake, and really encouraging them that it's okay to eat. Like, it's really hard.
You know, decades and decades of diet culture, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was always like, how can we reduce calories, or how can we go on this diet or that diet in order to just like lose weight? And like, the most effective way to lose weight is to build muscle.
Yeah. There you go. I think that could be a quote on its own. The most effective way to lose weight is to lose body fat, is to
lose
gain
body
muscle.
fat.
Yes, yes.
It's to build muscle.
For sure. And there's such a big fear that alone, I feel like, is like education on its own, and bringing more awareness to that it's okay to build muscle. And building muscle, like, I lift pretty heavy based on my body weight, and I'm not bulky, and I'm really trying to tell the girls, you're never gonna be bulky. And guess what, if you do, stop working out.
Right. No, you'll never be bulky. And so, you know, that's one of the things, you know, when we find our maintenance phase, like when someone comes on as a client, the last thing I do is put them in a deficit. Even if they're begging me to lose weight, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this right. So I don't want to be your coach for life. If I put you in a deficit, I'm going to have to be your coach for life, because it's going to be a long and hard process. But if I teach you the ins and outs of metabolism, and I teach you how to be your own coach, then you can do it right, and you're never going to need a coach for the rest of your life, right?
Yes.
Isn't that the goal in any type of investment? Is to never need one again.
Yeah, I know. I really love that you said that, because I really believe in that too. Not everyone that wants to work with me wants to be an athlete and consistently needs a coach in their life. They really just need the basics: exercise knowledge, nutrition, understanding their body. That's like a year at most, 2 years. Some of them maybe will want to take a lifestyle, but you don't really need a coach for the rest of your life. I personally like to have a coach as a trader, because I'm an athlete and I like to push myself to always the next level. But the majority of people don't. So just having the knowledge, having the understanding is just an initial investment that you need. So I love how you break it down to them that way, because that's what I tell them too. Is like, I want to teach you the thought process behind everything I do. So you can train yourself after you're done with me. You're not supposed to work with me forever.
Correct.
Yeah, so I really love that you said that, because that was something I used to be challenged in when I was working for a gym when I was working for 24. They're like, just let them resign, let them resign. I'm like, no.
Exactly. I've been there. I've been in that same boat too. And yeah, it's tough. And it's like, your fitness program is not just workouts. Your fitness program is not just nutrition. It is the why behind it all. Like, it is the lifestyle that you can build that's going to be sustainable and realistic for your entire life. Because if you want any type of physique goal, if you want any type of health goal, as soon as you get there, you're not done. You got to stay there. It's like, you're going to be working towards it for the rest of your life. It's not just something that you can achieve and then completely let go of. So yeah, that's another thing. It's like, that's why we go up to maintenance too at first, so that you can practice eating at your maintenance calories. Because when you're done with your deficit, when you lost your 15 pounds, you're going to have to eat at maintenance calories for the rest of your life, right? So it's like, I really like for them to know what that looks like on their plate during a day.
Yeah, I love that. And again, going back to the effectiveness of cycle syncing, I think the biggest thing is sustainability. Because once you're working with your body, you're much set up for success to stick to it, instead of getting into a yo-yo kind of journey. And that really, like, a lot of people, especially who are very new to the gym, think of like, okay, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be working with you till I reach my goal. I'm like, well, your goal is understanding how to train yourself, because building muscles and losing body fat can take up to a couple of years, depending on how hard you're going or how your body is. So if you want to work with me for a couple of months, our goal is not to get you there. Our goal is to teach you how to reach there by yourself. And that's just a very different. So when someone comes to me and they're like really trying to control themselves with their diet, really pushing themselves to go to the gym, I see the internal journey of changing the relationship to food, changing the relationship to exercise is what sets them up for success. Or they're going to end up going from one trainer to another, one trainer to another.
Yeah.
And it really stuck in one, the yo-yo dieting, and also really stuck from trainer to trainer of like, oh, this trainer didn't help me reach my goal. Well, it's not the trainer. It's also you building a lifestyle that you can stay consistent with. So the first thing that you need to change is, I need to be committed to this period of time, and then what? You're gonna stop. Guess what? When you stop, the moment you stop, losing muscles is way easier than gaining them. Like way easier. It's insane.
And it's funny, you know, I ask clients before they come on with me, I'm like, okay, what have you tried in the past? I'm like, well, how long did you try it? They'll be like, oh, like 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay. And then you also tried like that workout. How long? Oh, 3 weeks. And if you notice, they're 3 weeks, and then that 4th week that they fell off is probably luteal.
I love that. So kind of teaching them from the beginning, you're gonna fall off on this.
I'm like, I caught you. I know exactly what you're doing.
That's funny. And when you're in your menstrual phase, do you work out at all, or do you just take it as a resting time?
Yeah, I always stretch. I stretch every single day, or else I feel like a hunchback. You know, I always stretch during menstrual, and like sometimes I actually feel really freaking good when I first get into my menstruation phase. So like only those first 2 days I'm experiencing cramps or I'm experiencing any type of tiredness, but after those first 2 days, like I'm always so relieved to go into menstruation because I'm like, yes, a brand new fresh follicular phase is coming. Like energy is coming, estrogen is about to get here. And so I do exercise during my menstruation, and I actually have my girls PR on day 5 of their menstruation. And this
Wow.
is because they just rested for a whole week or so, and their muscles, and they just ate more for a whole week or so. So their muscles are recovered, they have all the carbs, and like this is not something like when I look into cycle syncing, it's always like, yeah, ovulation is PR, but like my intuition and understanding of just kind of like when you have like all that carbs in your muscles, in your liver, and you have that rest, you have the recovery. Day 5 of your menstrual cycle is like your estrogen just peaked up a little bit too, and I see the most gains on this time of their phase.
Oh, I love that. I
And
love that
so
so much. And it makes
they
so much
just,
sense.
yes, they just stretched a lot, they just ate a lot, they just rested a lot, and so now it's like, okay, get back in the gym, hit yourself a PR. Now you're gonna be motivated for the rest of these next 3 weeks to stay
I
consistent.
I love that so much because I definitely feel that spike of energy, and it gives me actually an anxiety because I'm like just coming from being in winter, just like, just not moving, not doing much. And then I just get this surge of energy, but I've never really connected it to like hitting the PR, which is really just the way you put it is really interesting. I've done it with the luteal because of like the aggression or like anger or whatever emotions that drove me right before my menstrual phase. But after it makes a lot of sense actually because I've been thinking of how to transition, and I've been trying to figure out like certain things that help me with the transition because I feel it right away, like the spike.
Yes.
And I'm like, what do I do with this energy? I just got out of a cave of just being cocooned for so long, but it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and it's, when I first started teaching, I'm like, well, this is like literally everybody else who teaches cycle syncing does not teach that part. But I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna rock with this, and then I see my numbers that my girls are hitting, and they are crushing it. So like, it's working. I don't need anybody else's input on this. Like the hormones say it's right, the carbs say it's right, the rest says it's right. So we're going with it, and I've seen some beautiful gains, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's just, but I
that's
don't think
really
there's a
cool.
wrong or right. I
Hmm?
don't think there's wrong or right when it comes to when you want to schedule your PR. At least just maybe not during ovulation when your ligaments are super lax, like the later the like peak day of ovulation, and then probably not during luteal unless like you're really like have adrenaline going for you and you have that like mental mindset going for you, which you totally might. I don't think there's a wrong way to do it.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's like these are guidelines
Yeah.
to help you fall back into, but really listening to your body and how you're feeling is
Yes.
always like, I'm like, take everything I say, put it in the back of your head, but then listen to your body and make it the thing that really determines what you do from day to day.
Yeah.
But absolutely having that knowledge in the background is really helpful because you're not judging yourself, you're preparing yourself, you're planning
Yeah.
accordingly. Especially the food part, I think is really amazing how you broke it down. It really makes a lot of sense, just understanding the temperature in the body and all of that. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I feel like I could talk to you forever.
Yeah, I know. We should definitely like link up actually here in person. I would love to connect with you.
Absolutely. Yes. Can you go through, what do you mean by the energetics of your menstrual cycle and how do you connect that in? And I watched some of your stuff too, and I feel like, that embodiment piece is something that I'm not as familiar with. So I would love to kind of hear about what you do.
So the way I teach it, I touched on it a little bit at the beginning of the live, which is like understanding more of the emotional state.
Oh, yeah.
So when I talk about energetics, it's more like the emotional state. So when I tell them like during your like the journey, like connecting it to a journey, like when you're on your menstrual phase, then you're in your yin, you're in your very feminine energy, you're very in your heart, your emotions, and then just allowing yourself to receive inspiration of what you want to work on and stuff like that because you're in stillness, you're meditating, you're receiving insights, and you're also releasing as well, like whatever that is coming through, especially with cramps. Sometimes like our physical pain is a manifestation of emotional pain, so sitting with all of that. And then when you receive those insights the week after, which is the follicular phase, your emotions are a little bit more balanced, so you're able to and you have more energy. So now you're more into the research and like the structure and planning and your creative thinking. So all of the ideas that you received during your menstrual phase, you're sitting with them and you're putting them into a plan and action. And then as your energy starts building up more, then you're more in the active and you're feeling yourself. I like call it like queen of the world. You're feeling yourself. Your energy is up and high. Your sex drive might be even higher too, and you just want to be out and you're extroverted. So it's time to really take action and all of that. So it's all about that emotional journey that they go on. And even if you look into the body, right, like the egg is produced as in, metaphorically the idea or the thought that you're working on, and it's growing, and then it's like out in the world ready
Yes, I
to be to
love
be birthed.
it.
So in the ovulation is like, what are you birthing? Like, what is the idea that you just conceived and that you're birthing? And then when you do that, then you like get into your little phase, and that's when the PMS, right? When you get emotional, you get very sensitive. So you even start wanting to clean your house, clean your place, start noticing dirt. Your inner critic is really high. You're more assertive too, so you're not putting up with a lot of people's bullshit. So that's where you can like set boundaries better
Yes,
versus the week before you're so happy. I'm gonna do everything for everybody. But then the
yes,
week after you're PMSing, you're like suddenly not in the mood for
yes.
anyone. So learning to understand that and honoring it, and sitting with it and sitting with the emotions will help you like navigate and be even more productive. So that's kind of like the way I teach. Like it's the feminine way of like you're working inward outside instead of taking action to changing something from inside. You're kind of the creation process starts inside. So when you're sitting with those emotions, you're kind of also clearing your body, therefore clearing yourself to your next journey, which is like your menstrual phase when it starts up again. So editing,
Yes.
refining, and sitting with all of that. And then I teach them how to communicate it as well with people in their life, because it's like a big deal for women. One with their partners when they think like, oh, you're unpredictable, you're crazy, you were just happy the day before and you liked me, and then like this week you're not in the mood. I'm like, well, if you understand my seasons, I'm much more predictable. And you can definitely understand me, but you need to, and I tell them like, but you need to understand your own seasons first,
Yes, it's very,
and then
very
therefore you're able to communicate it. And then when I was also working for the gym, I have no shame. I'm like, when I am on my menstrual phase, do not expect anything from me that is too much. I'm barely making it to the gym. It's good that I'm even making it there and I'm still showing up, but the bare minimum. So like when someone wants to ask me for more, I'm like, next week, just wait 3 more days or 4 days.
right.
And so I
It's so
also,
funny.
Yeah, I also take them before that through the process of like releasing shame around it too, which is I think is also very like women. A lot of women, like when I take them through like a meditation practice of like, so how was your relationship to your menstrual cycle started when you first transitioned into being a woman? Was that a positive experience? Was that a negative experience? Even though you've learned that it's okay, that inner child might be still hurt. And that is actually like one of the most powerful practices I've done with a lot of women, where I realized that transition was to a lot of them wasn't actually positive.
Right.
Whether it was like cultural changes that happened, or they're being sexualized, or she was just so confused in her life, and that also affects how they relate to their womanhood, and therefore
Oh my God. Wow.
starts affecting like literally everything else in their life. Like a lot of them just push away when they're on their menstrual phase. I'm like, you can honor that time of your, you know. And also touching on the point of expectation, to be honest, when I was operating consistently from my masculine as well, I always felt like I was failing. Like, it's like, why is my coworker able to show up in his A game and succeed way better than me? And I always felt like I really hated my womanhood. Like I really did. It's like if I didn't have this inconvenience happening, I would have been much more successful in my career, blah blah blah. And so once I started going to the root and reframed a lot of that, I realized like, wait, I can still succeed, but I've been approaching my success in a very different way. And that was like a complete shift in my life, where my success, I can't operate like, even till now I sometimes like compare myself to my partner who can work from 9 to 5. I can't. Like, sorry, I can't.
No.
But however, what I can do is take way less action than you, but much more aligned, because my superpower is my intuition, is my psychic abilities as a woman, and also my magnetism as a woman. You can take 10 steps, but I can take 5, and I can get to the same results. Guess what? I found my superpower because I shifted the story. I shifted the way I operated, and I honored myself first. And I honored my body. And when I honored my body and myself, I stopped comparing. Of like, no way I'm gonna be that. My superpower is not that, but I can succeed in my own way, in my own flow, in my own rhythm, and that sets me up much more in my how I feel about myself. First of all, this is the most important. But second, I actually found it to be much more effective in how, you know, if you're really into spirituality, like the quantum field and energetics and manifestations happen a lot faster when I'm working from that place. And I find it to be a very feminine approach to life.
I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that you just pointed that out. It's like, I cannot work 9 to 5, but when I do work, it is so damn aligned with my energetics and exactly how I feel that my all is going into it. So maybe I can't put in the time, but I put in the quality.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's the quality, it's the aligned action as well. And it's also the magnetism that I really feel like is such a great power that we females have. Just magnetism in attracting everything, like the opportunities, like the things to us. I just find it way easier because our attunement to the energetics is just much heightened. So honoring that and flipping the script, I'm like, I still want to be a career-driven, ambitious woman, but that is not a way to do it for me. And that ends up in the burnout and in the failure, and then always feeling less. Like, it's just really how I used to perceive myself. I'm like, I'm always failing. I can't produce the way they do it.
Oh my God, you hit it on the head. When I first started my business, I was doing everything the way I thought it had to be done, because at the time I was living with my ex-boyfriend who had his own online business, and he would work from 5 in the morning. He would get up at 5 a.m. every single day, and he would work for like 10 hours a day, not miss a beat. He would meditate in the morning. He would, like, everything was so rigid. And I thought I had to do that in order to be successful. And I was absolutely miserable.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
And it wasn't until I just started to do things my way, and I started to talk to just women my way, and really started to connect to them, that my business took off. you know, and it's like now I have purpose in what I do. I don't have like this rigid structure that I have to follow. I flow with everything and it comes to me.
Yeah.
And now women come to me because they feel that I'm not in this masculine, I'm just going to tell you what to do because I tell myself what to do. No, I feel what to do. And that magnetism is everything. So watch out, everybody. If I write it down, it's happening.
Exactly. No, I totally feel you. And I love how you said, I feel it. I never almost say, I'm going to think about it. I'm like, let me feel it out. Let me see if my body agrees to this. Let me see if it feels good and in alignment or everything. And yeah, I totally hear you. I think it works for them. I'm not, when I see like men do it, I'm like, this is really amazing, really inspiring.
Yeah.
Just not for me.
No.
Not can I do it
More
that
power
way.
to you. More power to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps also really help me with like not attaching my worth with my productivity.
Oh my god.
That's a huge thing.
You're pulling out all my wounds, literally.
Yep,
so
I feel you on that. Because we do want to be, we are high achievers, we are very ambitious women, and so all of these are natural because I feel like growing up seeing what success is, that was the only, you know, example of how people succeeded, and so it was natural for me to follow it until I learned a different way to follow it, of creating my own system, which is still a system. Like, if you think about it, it is still a system.
It is, and you know, that's actually a really good point. That's a really good point because even in fitness, it's like the most successful coaches, most of them are men. The most knowledgeable coaches, most of them are men. The research on fitness and muscle building and fat loss, most of it's on men. And so it's really hard to like truly understand that we are a completely different human on the inside, on the outside, right? And so it's like a lot of the female coaches, they learn from men and they learn from male-based research. And so it's really tough, you know, to go into this completely different operation and completely different system of training. And I like truly embody this feminine version of fitness when, you know, the most effective is this way. The most efficient is this way. It's like, well, what if that's not the most effective and efficient for me?
Right.
And that's what I want to teach women truly is like, yes, the most effective way to build muscle mass is to train your muscle groups at least 2 times a week, to go to fucking failure, and to really push yourself really hard in the gym. Is that going to be realistic and consistent for you for your whole life? No, and your hormones don't want that either. It's like your most effective is just going to look different from his most effective.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that you really mentioned that because I did feel that was a big thing that I needed to work through, was like, it was a very, and it still is a very male dominated industry.
Yeah.
Like, we were, what, 10 male coaches to 3 female. Like, seriously. And then most of the girls that actually even, maybe their first trainer is a male, and they're like, well, he still pushes me, and, you know, to be disciplined and show up when I'm in this phase or whatever.
Yeah.
And it also causes, like, even if, like, there's a lot of women that are very powerful, like, mindset, and they do push their bodies beyond, but does it even serve them later on in their life, right? There's a lot of athletes that don't even have their periods anymore because of, like, the how much they push. Their testosterone levels are high, their body fat is low, and that's something really to address. And I feel like just seeing more women talk about this and acknowledging it really is like lights me up. I'm like, we're about to change the industry because I struggled with
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like I want to make, like, I just want to help women stop thinking that it's an inconvenience to be a woman. Like, this is something that you can't get rid of. You just gotta accept and embrace.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing. It truly is a blessing to even have this outward menstrual cycle that you can use as a roadmap for everything.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to like figure it out. It's like it's already figured out for you. You just gotta follow it.
And really, like, I feel like the biggest thing that I'm working on embodying is also showing that it's successful. Like, it feels in alignment. One, the biggest success is my fulfillment and happiness. So let's address that. And then also really making sure that it does show the success of, hey, I still got the body I want. I still got the success in my career I want. And I didn't need to compromise my own health and well-being.
Amen.
Yeah, amen to that 100%.
Amen. Yep, and it's tough when I'm definitely working through. I have a lot of actually genetic hormone issues, and like the women in my family have been not blessed when it comes to thyroid issues, and PCOS is in my family, and it's so, this is the kind of the age where, my sister ran into issues, and, my aunt, my mom, everybody, all the women closest to me have run into hormonal issues. And so I get to break that cycle. Like, I get to
Yes.
start with this prevention. And that means, like, I don't know how I used to train so dang hard for every single week of every single month. But looking back on it, I never had a regular period. I never had like this attunement and this like in touchness that I have now. And I was honestly doing things out of like adrenaline and out of, like cortisol, and out of just like that I'm not good enough if I don't push. And so I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was without the gym or without school, because those were the things that, proved my worth to me. And
Yeah.
now it's like, and now I play guitar, and now I draw, and now I, write poetry, and now I journal, and now I hang out with friends, and now it's like, I know who I am without the gym, without productivity, without all that stuff. And
Yes,
it's like
yes.
so much more of a fulfilling life. And
100%, yeah.
And so this is the first time in my entire life that I've had a regular menstrual cycle. Like literally the last 2 months when I've been cycle syncing. So
Congratulations!
yeah.
Wow, congratulations!
About
That is
time.
something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that is amazing. I am really happy to hear that, because it definitely puts you at ease. Your body is more relaxed. It's ready to release every month, because your body responds to the stress hormones when the reason why you can't even have your period regularly. Absolutely. Like the first thing I tell someone who has an irregular period is to learn how to relax.
Literally.
Learn
Yeah.
how to relax, and also learn how to connect with the moon, because our cycle is very connected to the moon. So just
Yeah.
to put your hand on your womb and try to start your
Oh,
journey of womb healing.
towel. Yeah, for sure.
But I think what's challenging about this whole journey, when I first take someone, and I've had girls that, like a couple of girls that actually had irregular and then started having it more regular after they started accepting, releasing shame, releasing any resistance with their period. And also, I feel like the biggest thing, when they start connecting to their womb, they start connecting to their emotions. And so that is a very, very also feminine approach. The heart and the womb is very emotional, and accepting that we are very emotional creatures and loving that about ourselves.
Right. I mean, we are literally a portal to creation.
Oh,
Like
100%.
we literally create life in that
Yes,
womb.
thank you.
If you are disconnected to that creation of life, you're going to be disconnected to life in general. You're going to be disconnected from your ability to manifest things. You're going to be disconnected from the clarity and the downloads that you can receive when you close your eyes and you ask, like, what am I doing? Or what does this mean? Or how do I feel? Like, if you're disconnected to your womb, and if you're disconnected to that portal of creation, it's going to be hard to flow. It's going to be hard to find your feminine flow. It's going to be hard to find, the wisdom that is so available to us.
Yeah, absolutely. That really sums it up. I love that. That was such an amazing, juicy conversation. Thank you for hopping in with me and saying yes to this live. Yeah, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add before we come to a close?
Thank you so much. This is so fun. I really, really appreciate talking to you, because I feel like we are so on the same page with a lot of these things. And, I feel like it's really scary for women to come out of that all or nothing phase. Like, they just want results so quickly. But if you've been struggling for the last, 3 years, 10 years, wanting results so quickly, a 3-month process of really finding out your maintenance calories, making sure your progress is realistic and sustainable. What's another 3 months? You've just been struggling for 3 years, 10 years to get the results that you want. Have a 3-month journey of really figuring out your body, syncing up to your cycle, eating at maintenance, enjoying foods that you've always said were off limits to yourself. And that's when you can really develop your intuition in order to start calorie cycling, so you can finally lose the body fat. So you can finally feel confident in the gym. It's like, really take the time to slow it down, and that's when the process starts really working for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for saying these really encouraging words. And I know you have a cycle syncing webinar, which I'm excited to attend myself. Gonna just go sign up for it because it was like solid. I'm like, this is so cool. So
Perfect.
yeah. Cool. When are you having it? It's soon, right?
Yep, so my next webinar is going to be January 30th and 31st.
Nice. It's a 2-day webinar.
It's a 2-day webinar. I like to break it up into 45-minute chunks, so because it's a lot of information, right? And we talk about like everything that we talked about today, and some of it can get really emotional. So I like to keep it small. I like to keep it intimate. It's just women allowed. I have these like guy trainers that want to hop in just to like learn and educate themselves. I'm like, sorry, it's women only. This is girls own.
Maybe create one just for them, actually, because I think it will be really helpful for them with their clients. Yeah.
Literally was thinking that last week. I was like, I need to reach out to all my trainer friends and do this for them.
Yeah, I keep sending them videos and no one responds when I do that. I'm like, just learn. But yeah, it's really great idea to create one just for trainers, actually. I think that would be really amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you again so much, and hopefully we connect more later. Absolutely. And I'll see you on your webinar.
Thank you so much. Okay, have a beautiful day. Bye.
Bye-bye.